Hobbs.
And you're watching, I forgot it.
I'm Hobbs.
And you're watching Underground Bunker on Bloodrock Media.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Underground Bunker. I'm your host Hobbs, and as you can see, I am in Texas at a gaming convention called PAX South. And well, as you can see, there's plenty of nerddom to go around. And since, I'm kind of one of them, I thought, well, hey, what the hell, why not do a show? You all know what this is. It's a weekly web series where I showcase unsigned and underground bands that I think you ought to be paying attention to. Because, well, look around. Tons of people in this world, and every one of them is listening to some sort of music. We all need to be listening to more music, which is why we do this. It's a sunny day here in Texas. Let's do a fucking show. The first band I'd like to talk about today is one that I found several months ago. I managed to catch them at a show at a convention, much like the one I'm at now. These guys are called the One-Ups.
My homie told he can run real fast. Hit you with a plant, he done ripped out the grass. Got a health meter unlike in the past. Catch him in subspace after shattering glass.
And these guys are a 5-piece funk band from Fayetteville, Arkansas. They got their start all the way back in 2002, if you can believe it. Now, they got their start because they liked the whole retro video game style, and they decided, there wasn't a whole big market back then for bands that were doing, video game-oriented music. And it was just getting started. These guys were one of the first guys to do it. And while they're not as big as, some of the other ones out there, they are definitely making a name for themselves. And they've made a solid name for themselves over the past several years. And no one can fault them. These guys are really, really good. Now, these guys have toured the nation several times over. Not to mention, they've played every single convention you can think of on the convention circuit as far as, nerddom goes. And they've deserved every bit of credit that they've gotten so far. They've played shows also. They played, individual sets with several people noteworthy in the video game industry, not the least of which is Mariachi Entertainment System and Yoko Shimomura from Capcom. Capcom's a video game developer. I know you guys know who that is. Now, these guys have 7 full-length albums. 7, count them, 7 full-length albums, all done by themselves, and they are always coming out with new material. Very cool. They are pioneers in that fashion because, like I said, they got their start in 2002, and back then bands were still just putting out albums and albums and albums. And while I've done that, they were also one of the first bands. I think this is kind of unique to the whole nerdness thing. They sort of started the whole putting out a single every once in a while, and it of course it caught on. Bands today are doing that like, a dime a dozen. It's a great idea, and it's definitely paid off. But bands of this particular art, if you will, were the ones to start all that, because since there wasn't a huge market for it back in the day, they just sort of had to put out what they had at the time and make do with that. And it still, it worked for them. Now, they don't have a whole lot going on, but they will be playing Playtime After Dark in Salem, Massachusetts on February 9th. And if you have the means or the will, you can check them out on their Facebook page or theoneups.com. I know there's a lot of metal fans watching right now balking at the fact that there hasn't been any metal yet. Well, fear not, for I give you the metal. These guys are called Bit Brigade. These guys are a 5-piece metal band from Athens, Georgia, and, well, it's Georgia, so it's going to be weird. They play video games with a metal twist, and as you can hear, there are no slouches in that arena because, well, listen. Now, as you can see from the video, these guys have a very unique twist to how they bring about their sound. They're a 5-piece, but the band is actually a 4-piece, and then they have one guy sitting on the floor or chair playing the video games to which they are, playing the music. Like, this guy's playing Mega Man 2 while they're playing the entire theme of the video game, and it doesn't matter, you know, how often certain themes repeat. You know, they're playing right along with them, and they do it really, really well. These guys have practiced their ass off. I caught them a few years ago at another PAX convention in Seattle called PAX Prime, and what I saw was just it's an art form, because you have to have synchronicity at all times. You have to know, like, this guy is going to complete this in such and such a time, so they have to be ready for the changes. And you have no idea what's going to happen. I didn't see the guy die. I didn't see Noah, the gamer, I didn't see him die once. So he's good, really good. And if you're into that kind of thing, which most of you people are, you know, you can appreciate the kind of time and the effort that goes into something like that, where this guy, his job in the band is to be as good at video games as fucking possible. And that's difficult to do, no matter, you know, because everybody's got jobs. So it's difficult really to do, to put in that time and the effort. So you can see from, like, how good this guy is, how much time he's put into it. I mean, he could be a savant, but on the other hand, he could just be spending, you know, 34 hours or 40 hours a week getting good at these retro video games. And for a cover band, which is essentially what they are, they've had to spend, you know, time learning the intricacies of everything that they're playing, because everything is different, and they have to play everything going throughout. So depending on what world, you know, Noah, the gamer, happens to be in at the time, they have to be playing a completely different song. So as you can see, they are insanely talented. And they got that way because each member of the band, as you probably figured, were from other bands. And most of these bands did a lot of touring. And as you might suspect, these guys also do a lot of touring. And again, they play the convention circuit very, very often. And they deserve every bit of credit they've gotten. Yeah, you know, watching these guys play, and having watched Noah play the entire Mega Man 2 game, which is one of my all-time favorites. Watching him play Mega Man 2 while the band was playing the music to go with him, even the boss battles and, you know, the victory battles and all that stuff. Watching him play was awe-inspiring because he's insanely good. And the band backing him up were playing every single note in the game's repertoire. They're not doing any gigging right now, but I suspect that once the convention season picks up during the spring and summertime, these guys will be out and about, and you can definitely catch them. But other than that, you can catch them on their Facebook page and bitbrigade.com. Now I was going to talk about a string quartet, but I figured you people would fucking hang me. So instead, I'm going to talk about a funk metal band called SCI Fried.
How do you take the measure of a man, the strength of his skill, the scope of his plans? Rejected by father, I survived by my wit. There's a price on my head.
Now these guys are a 5-piece funk metal band from Orlando, Florida. And if you know Florida at all, you know whatever the hell comes out of there is going to be interesting. I mean, aside from Limp Bizkit. It started in 2008, and they play sort of this. It's nerdy in fashion, but it's not necessarily nerdy music. They just happen to play it in, you know, they happen to catch on themes that everyone goes through, but they just sort of nerdify it up just a tad. But the music is still very listenable, even if you're not, you know, a nerd. The music is reminiscent of bands like Psychostick, and anyone who knows who Psychostick is knows that that kind of genre deserves a little bit of respect, if not a lot of respect, because it's difficult to write metal songs, or any kind of song that isn't like covering something else. It's difficult to write that kind of music and make it listenable, not boring, and bring to the table something unique. And these guys do that. They've won several awards, and I mean a lot of awards, not the least of which is Best Metal Band in Florida, which there's a lot of metal in Florida. And the fact that a nerd-related band won that award says to me that the world is becoming more open to this kind of thing. And unfortunately, there's still certain areas of the states and around the world where it hasn't quite gotten there yet, but it definitely should, because the quicker people realize that this is definitely a more relevant style of music, a more relevant realm of music, I think the better off we'll be, because when you have metal, you have anger. I mean, it is a form of release, but at the same time, there are people that use it as a crutch, and I think that needs to end because you can't be angry all the time. You know, I'm certainly not, and these people are not. They are having a blast, and they are having a blast because they've embraced they've embraced a part of themselves that makes them happy. And while metal music makes everybody happy, and that's great, I think the anger that comes from it can be a detriment. And loving music shouldn't be a source of anger, because I've gotten into several arguments with people that are just like, it's not metal, it's crap, and that infuriates me to no end. Now, they're not gigging right now, but they did just play a festival called MagFest, and a few of my friends go to that every year, and a few of my friends know how badass that is. If you happen to catch these guys on the radio or on in live, I definitely think you'd like it, because, as I said, it's not going to be nerd metal. It's metal. It's nerdy. I think the more people that get into this kind of thing are definitely going to enjoy it. And I think if you have an open mind to that kind of thing, you will fucking enjoy this kind of stuff too. You can catch these guys on their Facebook page. You can catch them on their Bandcamp, and you can also catch them on SciFriedBand.com. Not metal, not rock, not what you're expecting. This guy is called MC Frontalot.
Bright-colored robotic space rhinoceri that we pilot. Why? Because they're in survive. Plus, we heed the cry of our planet's population to defend them. We report to battle stations, split screen ready, and our rhinos are running.
Now I have a huge amount of respect for this guy. This guy started the nerdcore movement. Now, he's a rapper, but since then, a lot of people have sort of taken that genre name and made it their own. He's been doing it quite a while. He's been doing it longer than pretty much everybody else in the nerd movement, in the nerdcore movement, and he was a pioneer in the area pretty much. One very cool thing about this guy is he's very family oriented. He doesn't really piss anybody off. His own mother sells his merchandise at all his shows, which I think is freaking awesome. Another cool thing about all his shows is he involves his audience a lot. And, people that go to his shows, they know his music from, like, the back of their hands, and their back of the hands know something else really well. But this kind of thing, there's a lot of singers and artists out there that don't do that. And Deaf Heaven, have to say it. Good band, kind of fun, let's get on stage and ignore our fans kind of thing. And this guy does not do that at all. He is very, very good about bringing his fans closer to the show. And in my mind, there's not enough artists or bands that do that. You can't get up on stage and just play the CD. You just can't do it. These days, especially these days, you have got to engage your audience and bring them closer to the show. And I'm not talking closer to the stage. I'm talking you need to bring them closer to the show so that they can go away with having connected with the material. My favorite song by Frontalot is the song called I'll Form the Head, which any of you who are a little bit my age, or at least have seen the newer version of, it's about Voltron, but for copyright reasons, it's not about Voltron. Now, he's not doing any shows right now, but he's going to very soon, and you can catch all his tour dates on Frontalot.com.
Segway!
I said the best for last, fans. These guys are Powerglove. Like I said, save the best for last. These guys are a 4-piece metal band from Boston, Massachusetts. These guys know their shit. And they've been doing nerd-related metal for 13 years actually, since it's 2018. And they've been doing it really, really goddamn well. They are the only, to my knowledge, they are the only nerd-related band to have been signed to a major label, Koch Records. And Koch Records doesn't take crap. Unlike certain record labels like Atlantic Records, where they sign 99 bands and then drop 98 of them a year later, Koch Records only takes the cream of the crop, and Powerglove is that band. Very cool thing about these guys is they tour all the time, and in a day and age like this, when it's very difficult to do that kind of thing, and nobody's making a lot of money at it, it says a lot about their commitment to the music. You know, as you can hear, they do metal renditions of video game themes, and they do it really well, I think. And the cool thing about a band like this is, you know, there's certain groups that will, you know, create their set and then play it forever, which isn't bad. You know, some people just know their crowd. Powerglove are always coming up with new songs and new ways to do the stuff that they already have. Last week I touched on a band that had saxophone in their music, and I really enjoy that kind of experimentation. These guys are no different. Powerglove actually has a song called Sexy Robotnik that has sax, and that takes balls. Even to people like this, they're not going to be expecting that kind of thing, and that takes balls. Now, they're not gigging either right now, but like I said, I think during the spring and summer that will definitely pick up. They also played MagFest recently, but they also just got back from Japan because, you know, they know their audience. Their audience is worldwide, and Koch Records obviously recognize that. So since they're not gigging right now, I highly recommend that you check out their music on powerglove.com. That's all the time we have on this episode of The Underground Bunker. I invite you once again to check out the like and subscribe buttons. You all know how this works. It's fucking YouTube. It's been around for quite a long time. Get with the program, folks. We got a lot of stuff coming out this year, including my other show, The Fallout Shelter, where I interview touring bands. I also invite you to like and subscribe every band that is on this week's show, not to mention the Spotify playlist, which gets longer every week. It is so long right now. It's the longest playlist in the world. I'm going to leave you with this remark. Everyone here is a huge fan of some sort of music. Everyone out there is a huge fan of some sort of music. Open your minds a little, people. Get out and enjoy the party. I'm Hobbs. I'm out.